Audible? Right. All right. Okay. So let us get started. I got one question from Bhuvnesh regarding recording sessions. They will be present in the uh, previous email itself. If you are not receiving the links or if you have any doubts with the links, please speak with Satish Bhuvnesh or the admin. Yesterday, I think I've shown you the number, right? Please speak with them and try to find out where the email is, right? Yeah. Okay, sir. So let us get started with our migration journey. So let me set up the stuff. Okay. Before this is opening, let us quickly reiterate what we have discussed in our last class. So if you basically look into, we have discussed on what Azure can migrate and what was the situation basically which John and Steve are in right now. Okay. So our whole idea is to have a Hyper-V machine, okay, with some virtual machines, and we want to migrate that to Azure. Okay, but we have tried to tell that we will be using a simulated setup. Our Hyper-V machine will be on cloud itself because we don't have the physical setup. In reality, whenever you are doing the actual migration, you might have Hyper-V servers in your office. The only difference between what we do in the classroom versus what we do in reality will be your Hyper-V will be in your organization's data center. In our case, in this lab environment, we are trying to have this Hyper-V on our cloud account itself, right? Yeah. Yes, yes. Okay. So then we have basically said that for designing these activities, we need to know these two topics, which is uh, the cloud adoption framework and 6 hours of migration. Okay. So that is something which we'll be discussing in our next class. But for today, what we will do is we will try to have the basic setup of Hyper-V, the basic setup of Hyper-V, and we will be doing it in the classroom. I think everyone in the room has the Azure account with you, and you are in front of a laptop. Is my assumption right? Right, right. So let us all create this simulated setup. So we are going to create Hyper-V in our account itself. Okay, and when we create that, on top of that, we'll be creating virtual machines. So let us have this setup. Okay, I'll be sharing one link with you first. Okay, I'll be sharing that in 1 minute. Right. So this is what we'd be using to create Hyper-V setup. We'll be blindly following this document completely. Okay. So let me get started with the notes, and then I'll share this document, and let us do the steps one by one. In addition to this, we'll be doing something more than that. Okay, to create virtual machines. To create virtual machines. Right. So let me close the yesterday's notes. Go to Azure migrations, and I'll call it as Hyper-V setup.md. So simulated environment for Hyper-V migration. Okay, right. So I'll definitely take yesterday's image. Okay, first let me do this. Refer here for Hyper-V setup on Azure. Okay, right. Okay, simulated setup. Right. I'll be doing this. And now, basically, whenever you want to do this migration, okay. So what happens in Azure Migrate, we will discuss once we have the server. Okay. And remember, this Hyper-V setup, whatever we are trying to do, will not happen for free. This is where you will have some cost associated with the machine which you are trying to create. Some cost associated with the machine which you are trying to create. Okay, right? So this virtualization is basically called as nested virtualization. This virtualization is called as nested virtualization. Okay, so let me try to tell you why is this called as nested virtualization. Okay, right. So this I'm not basically representing in what do you call in the notes. I'll not try to represent this, but I'll definitely try to show you what happens when you're using Azure. When you're using Azure, basically, how does the whole concept of Azure work? Okay, so we all know that Microsoft has some data centers. These are all the huge data centers which Microsoft has. Okay, and now you as a customer, okay, this is you. Okay, right. Let us assume this is us. Okay, right. Now this is Microsoft's data centers. Let them be uh, in the regions or in the zones or whatever stuff it is, right? And now to access Azure, you might be using, okay, Azure portal, right? Or Azure CLI. You'll be having Azure portal and Azure CLI, okay? Or Azure PowerShell CLI, or let me write all the possibilities: CLI, PowerShell, or uh, SDK. So where you can use the programming language. So you as a customer will basically either use this or you will end up using this. Now, whenever you basically use this, let me try to tell you what happens. Okay. So let it be Azure's portal or Azure API. Okay. Azure portal or Azure SDK, they will have an API. They will have API. API is basically an interface so that your end users can speak with, or your different ways of connecting to Azure can speak with this. So portal and CLI is a way for us, but actually Azure communicates on the API. And now, if you look into any data center, if you look into any data center across this world, so let me go with images. Sorry, seeing you will have these racks. You will have these racks. Okay. So and each rack will have lot of physical machines in this. So let me open this. This image is looking a little bit clear. So there is a rack, and if you see, there are physical servers over here. The same thing will happen in Azure also, right? So data center, rack, clipboard, or let me use icon. Okay. So let me basically use this stuff. Okay. This is a rack, or what is looking like a rack over here. Yeah, this looks like a rack. Okay. So in your Azure, you might have lot of racks, loads and loads of rack servers. okay, that are available for you for usage. Okay, physically, these are all physical infrastructure. Okay, you and me might not have an access over these physical servers. What we deal with is virtual. Okay, now in this, basically what happens is, okay, this API speaks with an interesting component which is called as orchestrator. Okay, and now on top of every rack, so for every rack we will get power supply. For every rack we will get power supply. Oh, sorry, let me use this. Let me bring these rack servers to the board. Okay, so every rack will have a unit where they get power supply. Okay, and every rack basically has one interesting component which Microsoft has created, and this component is basically called as fabric controller. I'm just writing as fabric C. Okay, where C stands for controller. Right? So every physical rack will have fabric controller. Fabric controller is nothing but one more server. Okay. Now on top of it, anyway, you will have your power supply and all of that stuff. Now what orchestrator will do is, whenever you say Azure, in login into Azure, say that I want to create a virtual machine. Okay. Now orchestrator will find any one of the virtual machine which is good for that. So for example, there are lot of stuffs over here, and from the portal you have made a request to create Azure VM. So this is what you want. Okay, so this Azure VM, this was your request, right? So from portal you want to create Azure VM, and that Azure VM request goes to here, and from here to orchestrator. This is a request, not a VM. Okay, so now orchestrator, what it does is, it looks into the data center and it finds the right fabric controller, and it tells fabric controller, go and create a virtual machine, for me on any of the servers which you have. So then Azure will basically create a virtual machine on one of the physical servers over here. So in Azure, whenever you are working, you are basically working with virtual machines. Okay, so let it be portal or let it be CLI. Whenever we create stuff with Azure, okay, this is what happens internally. But in Azure, we are creating virtual machines. Now, what I am trying to tell is, I want to create a virtual machine. I am creating a virtual machine which is capable of creating some other virtual machines. If you look at our image, this is what we want, right? We want to create a virtual machine in Azure. This is a whole virtual machine, and this virtual machine should be able to create some other virtual machines. So within the virtualization of Azure, you are trying to create one more virtualization. That is where it is called as nested virtualization. Am I clear on this? So in Azure, what we create is virtual machines. Now what I am trying to tell is, in that virtual machines, we are asking Azure to create some more virtual machines. So it is virtualization within virtualization. So that is something where it is called as nested virtualization. Any doubts on this, why it is called as nested virtualization? Okay. So I'm not getting any feedback. So did you understood it, or was it difficult? Right, sir. Right, right. Okay, right. Now what we will do is, let us try to create a nested virtualization. And to create this nested virtualization, I'll be sharing a link with you. Okay, and I'll be following this link. Okay, so you can open that link, and I want you to follow that link, or you can follow my stuff. But even if you miss some points, whatever I discuss is basically over here. So let me try to tell you what it is. If you want to create a nested virtualization, your series has to be V3. Are you seeing this? D3 underscore V3 or EV3. Okay, this is the first thing. So let me log in into my Azure. Okay, this we will do 2 times. Today we will try to create and delete. Okay, tomorrow we might not need this setup, and day after tomorrow we'll need this setup. When I say this setup again, you have to create it on your own. That is the reason. Okay, so I'll go to resource groups. In Azure, whenever you create anything, it has to be part of some group. It has to be part of some group. Okay, so I think we have some group called as Hello World over here. Okay, so this is something which I've used in DevOps class. Okay, so in Azure, okay, whenever you create anything, any resource, it has to be part of some group. So either you create a new resource group or make your existing resource which is part of their resource groups. Now, resource is something which you are trying to create. In this case, something which you are trying to create is a Hyper-V Windows virtual machine. To hold that, I can use any of these resource groups, but I want a new resource group. I'll be creating a new resource group. And let me call this resource group as Hyper-V. Okay, or on-premise Hyper. Okay, and now be very careful. Are you seeing this? You can view the region availability. Now if you click on this this icon, it says that, okay, if you want to browse for any product, you can select them by region. Okay, so okay, virtual machines. Okay, now you can basically go into this. So DV3 series, okay, or DSV3 series, this is what we are looking out for. And now this is present in East US. You can go into every region over here. You can scroll further. So if you see, you can scroll further. Okay, right. So if you want to look out for Asian regions, you can say that, okay, I'm not interested in all of this, but I'm definitely interested in India. So in India, if you look at DV3 series, yes, we have DV3 series. So whenever you want to create anything, okay, you can come to this stuff. Okay, right now I'm using East US, so I'll not have any problem. Okay, and then tags. It is always a good idea to create a tags. So I'm trying to tell that my purpose is, okay, my purpose is classroom. Okay, the topic which I am covering right now is server migrations. Okay, there are two advantages of this. One is I can basically query the resources. The other one is when I get the bill, I can filter my bill by trying to tell, okay, what was the bill when my purpose was classroom, what was the bill when my purpose was classroom, and topic was server migration. I can do all of these filterings. So generally in reality you might be creating loads and loads of tags. Okay, next let me click on review and create, and then click on create. So my resource group is ready. My resource group is ready. Right, no sir. Okay, right. Now in this I want to add a virtual machine. So if you go to the home, okay, always go to all services. If you go to all services, it will show you all the services that are possible to be created in uh, Azure. Okay, in here right now what I want is I want a virtual machine. So if you see virtual machine, okay, and if you paste it, you can click over here, you can say create, or else you can click on this, whatever that makes sense to you. So I would say that I want to create a virtual machine, add a virtual machine. Okay, but remember, for adding the virtual machine, the series should be D3 underscore DV3. Okay, right. So the resource group is just now we have created. My resource group would be on-premise Hyper. Okay, right. So what is the virtual machine's name? So I'll call it as Qt physical server. Okay, and remember my region was East US. East US. And now, what is the operating system which you want? My operating system can be Windows Server 2016, can be Windows Server 2018, right? You can select whole of the stuff from here. Okay, browse over here. But generally, since we are trying to select standard images, if you scroll down over here, you will be seeing this. So I'll be selecting Windows 2016 data center. Okay, Qt on premise, Qt on premise. Okay, right. So then it is asking, right? You have done everything looks good, but do you want uh, Azure Spot instance? I don't know what that is at this moment, at least. For the people who know it, that will not make sense to us. Let me change the VM size. And the VM size which I want is, okay, D3. So, right. So I'm removing all of this. Okay, I'm removing all the filters. Okay, and then you can search it for yourself. Okay, or you can directly say D3. So this is D3 series. Okay, come on, man. Okay. Mm, where is V3 version 3? Right. Somehow I think let me try to see. I should have D3, man. Okay, 1 minute. Let me try to see. Nested virtualization. How can I miss this? Nested virtualization. I think we have seen over here, right? East US DV3 series. This is what we want. Okay. DV3 series Azure. Mm, okay, okay. Fine, but right, right. Let me see. Mm. So what is it trying to tell us? If you can select any of this D2S underscore V3, or I'll be selecting D2S underscore V3. This machine basically costs you around 9,000 rupees per month. Okay, so don't worry about 9,000 rupees per month. Look at it at this way. Okay, so if you basically do the calculation, it will be uh, somewhere around 9,000 divided by 24 divided by 30. Sorry, this will basically give you per day cost in every day hourly cost. So it will cost you around 12.5 rupees per hour. Okay, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, D4 V3. You can do that one also. Right. Okay. Fine. 1 minute. 1 minute. Madhu, I think let us put our questions contextual. Let us try to do this, and at the last I'll try to answer your questions, right? So right now I want only questions on migration. Okay. Here you can give your username. All right, good. So over here we need RDP, that is more than enough. But if you want, you can select HTTP also. All right. So RDP is more than enough for us. Okay. And there is nothing else which we need to worry about. Now, if you look into these settings, this is what we'll be doing. So I have selected a machine D2S, which is version 3. Okay, V3. Yeah. And then I can basically select this, and then I'll click on review and create. Shrikant, actually, there are two questions which I have got. Okay. So first thing is, when I want to create 50 VMs, what will I do? Madhu, I think the answer to this question would be the templates. Yeah, I have asked you to basically on the day one, we have discussed on templates. Okay. So what does each VM series means? Okay, we will have this discussion when we discuss a topic called as virtual machines, Shrikant. Okay. So am I fine on that? So right now let us focus on migration. Okay. So what does these two things mean? We will worry when we discuss about it. Okay. Right now they are just on configurations, right? Okay. So now if you look into this, it is trying to tell that this machine will cost me approximately 12.5 Indian rupees per hour, and then I'll click on create. And this will take some time. This will take some time. So please do this activity. You're also doing along with me, right? Just RDP is more than enough. RDP is more than enough. If you want to see what are the ports that needs to be open, just RDP is more than enough. For this question, it is RDP, which is 3389. You will be seeing that in the UI itself. All right. Okay, good. So my machine is ready. It is trying to tell go to resource. Now I'll go to this resource. Okay. And then I can click on connect button and download an RDP file. Okay, where I'll download one file and then from that I can connect to it. I don't like that approach because that will end up creating a lot of RDP files. Now you can copy this IP address. You can copy this IP address. Okay, right. If you want to give a name to your machine, you can give a name over here, but right now it's okay. I'm not worried about names at this moment. And type mstsc -v and IP address. mstsc -v and IP address. If you don't want to do this, you can do mstsc and then paste the IP address also over here. But this is okay, easier way. Give an IP address. Then it will ask you what is the username and password. While creating this machine, you might have set some username and password. Try to give that. Okay. Now open this machine. Okay. while we are doing the migration, we'll go with D4, but for now today we are just we are preparing the VM, right? So it's okay. It's okay. Right. So this is a virtual machine. Okay. It will take some time and you will be seeing server manager up. You will be seeing server manager up. Okay. Right. Uh, okay. Fine. You are exactly following this document. Yes, I have written that. Okay. Now, if you click on this Windows button and open this server manager. Okay. If you like UI's way of doing it, you can enable Hyper-V from add roles and features. So you can say, right, let us wait for some more time till the basic assessment is done. Okay, right. Now you can say add roles and features. Go to the next, 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 and are you seeing Hyper-V? You can select Hyper-V over here. Okay, but as I said, I'll be following the documentation. Let us see what the documentation says. Okay, I'll do one more thing. So let me go to the local server. Okay, are using enhanced security organization of internet IE security, right? Please disable this. Disable this. Okay, right. That is the only thing which I wanted to be done over here. Okay, so come to the local server. In the local server, IE enhanced security configuration will be on for you. Make it off. Okay, right. Now, if you make it off, why I'm asking you to make it off is whatever URL which you are referring, okay, to view the documentation, we can view it from here itself. Okay, so don't now you can open this documentation over here. All right. I personally don't like IE anymore. Okay, but there are some applications which work only on IE, but you can open the same document over here. Now, if you look into this, to enable Hyper-V, I can copy this script, allow access, and click on this Windows, open PowerShell. Okay, right click on the PowerShell, run as administrator. Don't forget to run as administrator. Okay, paste that. Let me do one more thing. Edit or properties. First is large. Let me increase the font size to 20. Right. Now I'll try to click on enter. Okay. So you are installing the Windows feature on PowerShell, which is called as Hyper-V. And this activity takes time. All right. But if you have not taken the right series, if you have not taken the V3 series, right, this installation might fail also, saying that your virtual machine doesn't support nested virtualization or doesn't support Hyper-V virtualization. Okay. And after this, your machine will be restart. After this, your virtual machine will be restart. I would not recommend. You can do this from GUI also, but why don't we start using PowerShell? Right. You can do that from UA also. Right. Sorry, seeing the machine is getting restarted now. So just wait for some time. Wait for the machine to have restarted. Okay. No, sir. When this it is not a restart service every time. Okay. With in some cases it is restarting the machine, right? So to be very specific, this you should be asking to Microsoft, not to me. Okay. This question is Shravan. And we can do this from UI, but I don't recommend using UI. Okay. Right. Now copy this. Let us do mstsc-v. Okay. If the machine is up, it will show the communication. If the machine is still restarting, you will not see the option to restart. Or to you will not see the option to connect. See, the machine is still not started. Okay. Now it is connected. Oh. Now on this virtual machine, oh, there is something going wrong. Okay. I think I need to wait for some more time. Okay. Good. Sir, virtual machine is up. Okay. Now what I can do in this virtual machine is I can create virtual machines now. Okay. So if you click on menu and server manager, then wait over here. Yeah. So if you click on the tools over here, come on, man. I could have gone for D4, man. Okay. So if you click on tools over here, you will be seeing something called as Hyper-V Manager. Okay. Or you will be seeing Hyper-V over here also. Right. Okay. Now from here I can create virtual machines. From here I can create virtual machines. So I can right click and then say I want a new virtual machine and all of that stuff. Okay. I can say that I want a new virtual machine and all of that stuff. Okay. Right. So this is the first aspect to it. Okay. Now our documentation is still not done. If you remember, okay, we have just set up virtualization. Okay. We have enabled Hyper-V. And after that, we need to set up internet connectivity for guest virtual machines. Okay. So we need to execute all of these commands from command line. Okay. Now I'll open Azure PowerShell as an administrator, and basically copy and paste everything which you are seeing. Okay. And if you are doing something, please pause for a minute and follow what I'm doing. Okay. Uh, right. So right now let me do this activities. Please focus on this. Right. Okay. Allow access. Right. Okay. Now I've pasted this new virtual machine and virtual machine switch. So this is a networking switch which we get installed. So I got virtual machine switch. And once I get virtual machine switch, I'll be basically copying this net adapter. So when I execute this net adapter, there is one thing which is very important for me. So for this internal NAT, I got if index. Are you looking at this if index? Okay, which is 11. Okay, later on I'll be using that in my next command. So sorry, saying if index is interface index. Interface index for him he got as 13, but for me I got it as 11. So I have to change that to 11. I have to change that to 11. What I'm trying to tell is for this switch, try to allocate this IP ranges. This IP ranges. Now I click on enter. So I'm basically done. So create an IP address for an internet gateway. I've done this. Okay. And now I have to create the NAT network. So copy this, paste over here. Good. So we are almost done. So we have one activity to be is left. Okay. So are you seeing DHCP server? So in DHCP server, we'll be assigning a DHCP. Okay. So we have to basically install DHCP server. Install DHCP server. Okay. Right. So till here, if you have done, okay, you will be seeing a guest virtual network. Okay. And after that, we need to create a DHCP server. Let me try to tell what a DHCP server is. DHCP server helps us in assigning IP addresses. Helps us in assigning IP addresses. Okay. Right. 11 is an interface index. Okay. Every virtual machine will maintain an index for interfaces. And that is basically what it is. Right. So the question is, can I do it for ESXi also? The answer to that is no, because Ganta Reddy, if you understand, ESXi is not something which we install on an operating system. ESXi is something which we install on bare metal. Okay. So right now we are enabling virtualization on an operating system. Okay. We don't have a bare metal OS. 11 is in the index is where if you have many switches, for a switch, a index number is given. That is what it is. Right. So now I have to assign this DHCP. Okay. So before I assign this DHCP, I have to enable or add this roles and features. So I'll be going into the server manager, add roles and features. I'll click on next, 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 which is my current server. And then if you see DHCP server, add features. Okay. Then it says that no static IP is found on this computer. If the IP address changes, then you might have some issues. That's okay for us. Right. Yeah. So let me click on next. There is nothing which I need to change over here. Click on next, next, and then install. So wait for this DHCP server to be installed. Okay. It will take some time. Right. Right. See, in server migration, we will not have many logics. It is all about following a documentation, right? So are you seeing complete DHCP configuration? Click on complete DHCP configuration and click on commit. Done. Okay. And then close it. So if you see, there are some two notifications which are basically given. Okay. One is it tries to tell that it has completed the features, and the second thing it says that post deployment configuration is also done. Now, if I go into tools, okay, if you basically open DHCP over here, this is my DHCP manager. This is my DHCP manager. So tools and DHCP. Okay, right. So let me basically select this. If you expand this, you will be seeing IPv4. Okay, and in IPv4, right click and then say that you want to give a new scope. You want to give a new scope. New scope is IP address range. Okay, you click on next. You click on next, and then over here enter a name. You can give any name. So I'll be giving migration is the name which I want to give. Okay, description I'm not interested. Okay, and then what is the IP address range? It is 192.168.0.100. I'm just following the documentation. That's the reason why I'm giving in the documentation. You would see that they would have given the IP address range between 100 and 200. Okay, click next. Okay, then it is asking about exclusion and delays. This is not required to worry about. Lease duration. Okay, this is fine. Configure DHCP options, absolutely. And then it is asking for a DHCP router. Here try to give 192.168.0. Sorry, 0.1 and add that. Click on next. There is no need for you to give any other parent domain, and after that you can basically go through all of this and finish it. Okay, and if you see, I've not done anything. I've exactly followed what it is. I have opened a DHCP manager and I have followed these steps. I followed these steps. So if you see over here, there is option 1 and option 2. Whenever you have options, you can go with this or this. Okay, similarly, whenever I wanted to basically create a, okay, enable Hyper-V, he has given me two options. I've gone with the second option. I've gone with the second option. Now my machine is ready. My machine is ready for installing virtual machines or for creating virtual machines. This is the basic setup. This is the basic setup. Okay, right. Okay, fine. And now, right, guys, please follow this stuff. This is not at all anything which you need to worry about ifs and buts over here. If you know about Hyper-V, wonderful. If you don't know about Hyper-V, your organization has a virtualization support, right? So now there is one more thing which we need to do. Okay, so we need to install, okay, one software for creating virtual machines. Okay, you can create virtual machines from UI, but I really don't like that approach. I want to save some time. For that, what I would do is, the first thing which I do is, I'll go ahead and then I'll install, or I'll search for a software which is called as Chocolatey. Okay, today you will be seeing a video in the YouTube, okay, where they will show you how to install this. Okay, allow access, and you have to open PowerShell in an administrator mode and then enter this. Okay, right. Now let me close the PowerShell and then launch the PowerShell again. This I'll be writing in the documentation. Don't worry about that. Okay, run as administrator. Okay, now if I try to tell Choco hyphen version, it should find out. Okay, but if it is not finding out, the better way is to restart the machine. But today I don't have that much time, So I'll be getting into this, and if you look into this, here we'll have Choco. So Choco hyphen hyphen version, or I can use choco.exe hyphen hyphen version. That's okay. Okay. Dot slash choco hyphen hyphen version. Right? So I'm getting something. Now I'll be using this Chocolatey to install softwares. And the software which I want to install is, okay, I'll go over here, and are you seeing the search button? Over here, I'll search a software which is called as Vagrant, Okay. Now if you see, the command is Choco install Vagrant. Allow access. Okay. So right now that is the command if you restart the machine, but if you don't restart the machine, you have to use dot slash choco.exe install vagrant hyphen y. Okay. Okay. I'll copy this. Okay. Let me write this in the documentation. Uh, Post configuring. Okay. Or I'll say install Chocolatey by executing the following commands on PowerShell launched as administrator. On PowerShell run as administrator. Okay. And after that, restart the VM, run PowerShell as administrator, and execute Choco install vagrant hyphen y. So I have done that. Okay. So vagrant will take its own time. Once the vagrant is installed, then this vagrant, I'll be using this vagrant to create Linux machines. Okay. So this activity will cost you 12.5 rupees per hour. Okay. Or you take it approximately 20 rupees per hour. So follow all the steps very carefully, and then do it. So for every 1 hour you will be spending that. Okay. But if you are in the first month of the trail, it will not cost you anything. But if you are not in the first month of trail, then in the first month you get $200, right? $200 of credit. So that's the reason why you will not basically get it. Okay. You will not be charged. Wait for the vagrant to be installed, and remember, this vagrant is something which will be using for creating the virtual machines on Hyper. Okay. We can create virtual machines by manually installing them, but that will kill a lot of time. Okay. We'll be doing that from background. In reality, there is nothing which you need to do on your enterprise because virtual machines are already ready. For this lab, we need virtual machines. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, okay. Uh, Okay. Do we need to install DHCP if we add this VM to custom? The answer to that question is we will never add this VM to custom Active Directory services, right? So because that is not the setup which we are trying to do right now. Okay, fine. Post DHCP VMs have two IP addresses. It is not due to post DHCP installation. It is basically we will have two IP addresses because you have two adapters now. Okay. What is Choco and Vagrant? Choco is used for installing softwares on Windows machine. Vagrant is, it is not a Vagrant, it is Vagrant. Vagrant is a software which is used to create virtual machines. So Choco for installing softwares, Vagrant for creating virtual machines. Okay, right. Uh, any specific reason I am using Vagrant to create a virtual machine? The only specific reason, Ganesh, is because it is simple. The only reason why I am doing this is because it is simple. That's it. There is no other reason apart from that. Okay, it is easy. You and me need not know much about virtual machines, but still create virtual machines if Vagrant is done. Okay, this will take time, man. This activity will take time because if you see it, it has downloaded 239 MB of data, and then it will take time. So wait till this Vagrant is done. Okay, and after that, what I would recommend is please delete this virtual machine and do whole activity again. Do the whole activity again. Okay, so tomorrow we'll be speaking about cloud adoption framework and 6 hours of migration. What is cloud migration, cloud adoption framework with respect to migration, and what is 6 hours of migration. And after that, day after tomorrow onwards, you'll be using this to create virtual machines and then understand the migration process and then start migrating the servers. Okay, so once we finish Hyper-V, then we can do VMware migration, right? Yes, yes, it is possible, but generally Vagrant is used on developers machines. Vagrant is used on dev machines. So if you want to create anything on your developer machine, yes. If you want to do something on production, right, then it will become infra provisioning. Then it is better for you to use infra provisioning tools like Terraform to do that. Okay, right. So are we clear, guys? So I think I've given you the steps, and you have to follow all of them. Okay, so even if you fail, okay, if you are in the first month of the what do you call Azure subscription, anyway, this is not going to cost you. Okay, so I'll write machine size used. So what is the machine size which we have used? Okay, D2S underscore V3. Okay, but while I'm doing the actual migration, I'll be using D4. I'll be using D4. Okay, all right. Clear, guys? So will you be able to do whatever I've done in the classroom? Okay. This has nothing to do with your Azure knowledge. This is, we are trying to create the setup or simulated setup on the left hand side, okay, of this image, so that we have something to migrate. We have something to do the assessment, and we have to do the migration. Right. Okay. Fine. Good. So I think that is what I had for the day. Right. So we will be basically looking into the next steps, right? So tomorrow, next steps, I'll be writing the next steps, right? So if someone is interested, you can Google and find the next steps is understanding 6 hours of migration, and then cloud adoption framework. Okay, Azure cloud adoption framework. Okay, so this is something which, okay, these two are the steps which, or especially this step is something which, okay, John has to have an idea of. Okay, if I open this image, cloud adoption framework is very much important for John. 6 hours of migration is something which both John and Steve needs to know. Okay, so John is, remember, if you remember, John is an architect. Okay, so right now we are acting as RAM. Okay, we are setting up our local on-premise. Are we clear? Okay, this is what we are trying to do. Okay, wonderful, sir. So let us continue this discussion in our next class, and we'll be trying to start our migration, and we'll wait for the migration to be finished. We'll have assessment reports, right? So Microsoft is doing too much. It is buying or it is acquiring organizations and then doing lot of stuff on Azure Migrate because they want to do it on scale. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time. That is what I had for the day. All right. Okay. I think today or by tomorrow you should get it, Shravan. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks.